All right, welcome. Hey, it's the Genesee County Compassion Club show. My name's Jeremy. I'm your host. I'm broadcasting to you live from flinttalkradio.com. What's going on, everybody? How you doing out there? It's a great, beautiful day. It's just turned out absolutely gorgeous. Certainly amazing after the crazy rainstorms we had yesterday. The flooding was just crazy.
I saw pictures like near Royal Oak,
Yeah.
I-75 in Stevenson or something like that. They showed this. I don't know exactly where it's at, but it looked like a damn waterfall.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was the water, and actually there were they had divers out on I-96, I think it was.
No kidding.
They had divers out checking to make sure nobody was trapped in cars. That's
Wow.
how bad it got. I mean, their cars are. I mean, you see this in other parts of the country.
Yeah.
But I've never seen that happen in Michigan. To my recollection, I've never seen it. So.
I saw a picture of a overpass, and the water was like almost to the bottom of it. So like the car would go underneath there. So like 14 foot two.
Yeah.
And there's this little bit of water below there.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I was like, around here, if that happened, if somebody would be dropping a fishing line in, they'd see what there's in there.
Might fish out a wallet or something. Who knows? Right.
Snagging to somebody might be floating by.
Yeah, you never know. Well, it was a mess yesterday. Glad that it's over with now and that the weather's beautiful now. But we got John in the studio. He's the man behind the camera for the voice. Everybody's wondering, well, who's that voice that we hear? That's John.
That's the other voice in Jeremy's head. No.
Yeah. Like, wow, he's really good at throwing his voice.
Could you imagine doing that? Your voices in your head actually start being able to project themselves out.
That'd probably be pretty bad.
Yeah, it's like it'd probably be pretty embarrassing. You'd probably,
You'd have to learn to like not think. You're like, oh. Just not gonna project anything.
I remember when we were kids, some people used to think that in the 70s, we got all touchy-feely, and they thought it'd be great if we could actually avoid using language because it's so problematic. We just could transmit thoughts to each other. And even as a kid, I went, oh my God, I couldn't see that being a good thing, man. No way.
Yeah. You definitely want to watch your thoughts, wouldn't you? That'd be like some kind of Buddha mind control there. You could never like have a bad thought. I don't know. That's too intense, John.
Our politicians are pretty much demanding that now. They want to put you in jail if you don't say the right thing, read from the right script. So, I mean, that's not much different.
True. Can't speak your thoughts. Crazy. All right. Hey, we got some medical marijuana news for you. Going to share for you this week. Let you know what's happening. Had a lot of cool stuff happening this summer down at the Genesee County Compassion Club. Michigan's just been a flurry of marijuana stuff going on. I mean, it's constantly in the news. And there's always stuff happening. And, overall, it's been pretty positive stuff. I mean, we've had some pretty good things going on. And it's all been taken in stride, by the media and so forth. But it seems like it's a growing thing continually. And, it's just good stuff. Good times here in Michigan. And hopefully it continues. We've had a lot of different things happening. I know that we've got a golf outing coming up down at the club. And this is G3C second annual golf outing. It's going to be at Swartz Creek. And I believe that's on the 26th. It's a Monday. And you can sign up for that down at the Genesee County Compassion Club. Just go to the snack bar, get signed up, and hopefully we'll see you out there. I think we're doing a 4-man scramble, so it should be lots of fun. And want to see you guys there. Other events, I know we've got like Adopt a Highway coming up. We've got a next charity event that we've got going on is our soup kitchen, of course. And the soup kitchen will be happening the first Friday in September. I'd like to see you guys out there. If you could join us, it'd be wonderful. That is September 5th. And we'll be over at the soup kitchen. That's the North End Soup Kitchen off of Stewart there. We'll be over there about 2 p.m. and we're done usually by 5. Love to have you guys come out and support us, and love to hear from you guys. It's a lot of fun to get fed and also get to help out a lot of people in the community.
Do you have the menu planned already, or?
I don't.
You guys, because I know when you make pizza, you guys actually make pizza, and you make everything from scratch. You make the pizzas there.
Yeah.
That's different than just heating the things up,
One of our members down there, Matt Bernash, has just been phenomena down there. He's a cooking machine, and he usually plans the menu. He's doing a ton of the work down there, so I really appreciate everything he's doing. We'd like to have some more people helping him out, so let's get involved, people. Let's get going. We do like to make the food. It's pretty cool. We're not just serving it.
And the servers do get to eat as well.
Yeah, you get food. You get fed. It's good stuff.
So you can save money for that one day, that one meal, and help others.
Right on.
A win-win.
Yeah. It is. All right, I got some news I want to share with you. Just a few things going on in the media. Let you know what's happening. There's up updates going on around the country. There's something happening in Minnesota. They have a medical marijuana program there, and the health department there is asking their cannabis growers to help sort of form the program. It's kind of interesting. They put out last week a first set of draft rules based on their conversations with states and other material they've reviewed. But at any rate, it looks like they're going to try to get some more information from some of the growers out there. I don't know if they're asking people who are already growing in Minnesota because they don't currently have a license to do so. But I don't know. We'll see. It says here, by December, the health department must be able to judge the merits of a cannabis growing operation and award certificates to 2 manufacturers. For help, the same officials are urging applicants to be honest and to create guidelines for things like security and chemical composition. It's interesting. It says, I love that there's nothing in the new law prohibiting the state from gathering or partnering with growers. It's obviously that the state wants to put healthy distance between itself and the program. So, I mean, definitely what we've seen here in Michigan. The state doesn't really want to get involved too much. So, kind of the same thing going on in Minnesota. They're talking about the cost of getting the setups going, and there's a consultant that showed up from Colorado, Tears of Love. That's the name of his company. He says that the setting up a grow, the cost of it is enormous. Says about $10 million. So that's kind of interesting there. I don't know what kind of grow he's setting up. There's quite a bit of difference there between the states. I mean, the states have so many different programs out there. You can't really tell what a state is going to be going with when they're setting up a new program. I mean, you have New York setting up their program with just CBD only medication, and then you have other states that are looking at legalizing programs like Florida, but yet the actual rules and how they get set up there haven't been really revealed yet. So it's kind of interesting to get the feedback there. All right, let's see what other. Oklahoma looks like they're setting up a petition. It looks like they're running out of time. Anyways, to get petitions to hit their goal of getting a medical marijuana proposal on their ballot. Looks like they've got 26,000 more signatures to get, so they're not too far away. But their time is running out. So I didn't know Oklahoma was on the ticket this year. That's interesting. Oklahoma. That's kind of that state there has been one of the harshest states in the country for medical marijuana patients, and certainly for marijuana in general. I've heard of people getting up to a year incarceration just for having a joint. So that'd be a big change for people down there. Hopefully we'll get to see people have access. I'm reading to you from Toke the Town here. There's some info. Florida, being one of the states we're mentioning there, they have, of course, anti-groups going on and trying to spread propaganda against the marijuana campaigners down there. They're trying to imply that stoners are rapists and that they use pot food to drug victims. They've got a picture of a guy holding a girl, and he's got a pack of cookies in his back pocket, suggesting that he might be using this marijuana-laced cookie to somehow, have a date rape. This is sick. I mean,
yeah, I've never seen a guy do that. I mean, the guys I know used to smoke weed when I was in junior high are the ones probably the most mellow guys. I mean, most girls liked them because they aren't always trying to get in their pants. They're the ones that weren't always trying to do that.
This is just insane. This anti-medical marijuana group called Number 2 made a lot of noise about their claims, and they're saying that it might lead to gay sex, AIDS, and weed has more cancer-causing compounds than cigarettes. It causes more accidents and ER visits, and that weed dispensaries would be the new pill mills in Florida. But yeah, I mean, these claims are ridiculous, outlandish. You'd think that if they're going to have some sort of opposition to people having medical marijuana in the state, that the opposition presented would at least have some sort of fortitude to it, maybe some common sense, maybe a little bit more tact. But these sort of claims, I mean, this is as bad as when they first had prohibition back in the old days, Reefer Madness. I mean, this is almost a racist statement. Can you be racist to a plant?
I think what it is it's like basically creating fear over something that doesn't simply have that level of fear creating scenarios. and heroin into that. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
I almost think that a group going that far out on a limb and taking those stabs is almost doing themselves a disservice. And the people out there that might have been on the fence might say, "Oh, that's ridiculous. We know that's," or maybe it might cause people to talk about it and be like, "Have you heard that if you smoke marijuana, you might get AIDS, or it might turn you gay, or people might be using it as a date rape drug?" And did you see that? Did you see that ad? And maybe you've got some white caps down there discussing it on a beach somewhere.
I think it's,
and then
I'd be
they might
laughing
say
like
that's
that.
ridiculous. I know somebody who smoked, and they are fine. They're a nice person.
I would be laughing so hard if I saw that. I would be thinking that was a comedy routine. I think it was like something from a Saturday Night Live skit or something. If they actually got spots on the airways like this, it just makes sense. Oh God, people believe everything, don't they?
I do believe that, like I said, it's doing a disservice to their own campaign, which is fine by me. I think that the medical marijuana ballot down there is a fine measure, and I do believe that it will have the support that it needs to get passed this year. I think that's going to happen.
Well, like they say, never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. Just let them go ahead and put that crap out there. Just laugh at it.
Yeah. All right, this is interesting news. Nevada is one of the states that has medical marijuana. They're still getting their program in place. They don't have anything currently available. However, they are putting out rules piecemeal. And one of the things that they have out there is that they're saying out-of-state medical marijuana recommendations will be valid in the state of Nevada. So patients like from Arizona and other states, maybe some of those folks out there that like to go out to Nevada, would be honored and be able to entertain themselves in one of the new dispensaries that they're considering licensing. So, like I said, they don't currently have any dispensaries out there in Nevada. They're still working on getting those licensed and so forth, set up through and by the state. But when they do, it looks like they'll be accepting cards from out of state. So that's kind of cool. I think reciprocity is a good thing. I know that our law has reciprocity with, I believe it's Montana and Rhode Island. However, we don't have reciprocity with other states. So it's sort of weird. I've heard different interpretations on that based on which attorney you talk to. Some say yay, some say nay. And I think it's one of those things like, at the club, we play it safe. If you're not from Michigan, we just can't have you be a member or be inside the club. So it is sort of a gray area. And if you read through the law, you could sort of make a judgment for yourself. I myself would say that for the most part, you don't see reciprocity. Like if you go out to California with your Michigan card, the majority of the dispensaries out there are not going to honor your recommendation from Michigan. Likewise, if you're to come here from California. So I think having reciprocity is good. It makes sense. I mean, if you can have it at one place, you should be able to have it at another. It's still medicinal, and you're getting it from a medicinal place, obviously. So it only makes sense. So I think you'll see more states hopefully engage in that kind of behavior, and hopefully more of the laws that are considering, or more of the states that are considering passing laws in the future will have that as a part of their structure. We'll see. I know Michigan's could use some tweaking there, that's for sure. So maybe some sort of clarity, like if we had a statement that said, we will accept if they are properly licensed in other states. Currently, we don't have that, so we'll see. Some more information surveys coming out from Colorado, basically saying, hey, look, since they've legalized cannabis out there for recreational purposes, teen use has not gone up. They have not seen an increase in drug use amongst teens and other minors, so I think that's a good thing. You've also seen a similar sort of related survey where they've said that crime has not gone up in the areas where they've seen where they've seen recreational marijuana be available. So both good surveys, information's coming out backing up that cannabis really does not have a negative impact. It is simply a positive one. And there's another interesting note about Colorado is that currently they have like one of the number one booming economies in the nation, and certainly some of that could be attributed to the new marijuana industries that are now prevalent across the state. So something to consider. I think hopefully more states will see the common sense in that, will see the benefits of doing that versus the current method of prohibition, which is obviously a deterrent to business and also an added cost on our society here. So I don't know, hopefully we'll see something change. Hopefully this will catch on and more states will take note. And we'll continue to see positive reports out of these states like Colorado and hopefully Washington soon, since their program recently just became available to people out there. So, cool stuff. All right, let's see if there's any other info out here for you. Don't have a whole lot. It's been kind of a slow week as far as new information coming out. Was one thing that came out was kind of interesting. It said here that 55% of rheumatologists support medical marijuana. There was a survey put out by Canadian rheumatologists, and they had reported that the respondents there, of the 128 doctors that responded to the survey, 55% thought that there was a role for cannabis or cannabinoids in treating rheumatic conditions. 45% said that there was no role. So despite the divide in opinion, the vast majority of the respondents said that they were unsure of how to prescribe cannabis. So even though you might have had more doctors say that I think it should be used, they weren't really sure exactly how to prescribe it to their patients. 75% of the respondents said they lacked confidence in their current knowledge of the endocannabinoid system in health and disease. And what's more, 90% of the respondents said they would not feel confident in writing a prescription that included dosing, frequency, and method of administration. So those that did feel confident recommended a dose offered between half a gram and 3 grams a day as a starting dose, and at a single dose per day was the most commonly recommended treatment and schedule. Others suggesting 2 to 3 doses per day.
It's kind of hypocritical. They're saying they're not comfortable, writing a prescription for it. It's one of the most studied drugs out there, and there is no proven negative, or damaging side effects.
Yeah.
And so, what basically the Hippocratic Oath says, "First, do no harm." I think that prescribing it would fall into that category.
Certainly.
Especially
in situations where you have someone like this, a rheumatic person that maybe not be responding to typical treatment methods, or maybe you're finding that some of those treatment methods are having ill effects. So, here's a viable alternative that's out there. It has been very well studied. I think the difference is that it's not currently being pushed through the system by pharmaceutical companies. And I think once that happens, then you will see it be put out there. I mean, then they'll have the so-called information that's necessary to tell them exactly how much to dose, and so forth. But right now, they don't have anybody standing there telling them or pushing a product and saying, well, this is how much to give, this is how much we've studied and found to be effective, and so on and so forth.
I was going to say, how many doctors prescribe stuff that basically was just left off as samples at their office by a pharmaceutical rep?
Sure.
And they just basically will throw that out. I mean, that's what Oxy's got into into circulation, because they were prescribing it for everything after a certain point.
Yeah.
And we know how that works out.
Well, there's a definite reliance that's in the system there by most doctors to just simply grab whatever's given to them and trust that it's already been tested. I mean, that's one of the things that we have. It's the FDA that supposedly is making sure that medication is going to be okay to prescribe, whereas you don't have cannabis following that same channel, not currently. And I don't think that doctors, for the most part, are going to prescribe other things that are going to be considered holistic. Like, we don't hear about doctors prescribing certain kinds of fungi or certain types of vitamins or other things like this that might be beneficial for patients. They're just simply dealing with drugs, stuff that's done by pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah, the average RN's got more training in nutrition than the doctors do.
Yeah.
Because they've done more. I mean, doctors maybe have equivalent of 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks during the course of education. A nurse will have a couple of months under their belt about nutrition.
Yeah.
So who am I going to go to talk to about nutritional requirements?
Well, and I think that it's a common misconception that you could actually prescribe nutrition in an alternative to prescribing medication. And it's funny that a lot of the medications that you hear about being advertised on TV start with with a healthy diet or a balanced diet and exercise. So with these two things, this medication will help you. Well, those two things would probably eliminate the majority of most needs of medications. And in the cases where it doesn't, there are a lot of other alternatives out there. And what I'm trying to say is that most doctors don't go out on a limb and try to prescribe these other types of alternatives. And I think it's just simply because it's not going through the same channel. It's not going through the pharmaceutical companies. They're not having somebody stand there and push this drug out to patients. And so they don't have the material there that comes along with that push to say, well, here, this is how much to try, and so on and so forth. I think that you should look at the empirical evidence that's out there and say, well, hey, this is not something you can overdose on. So start out with a small amount and work your way up from there. I mean, it doesn't have to be as technical as they're trying to make it. And as far as the treatment schedule, patients are easily able to understand for themselves or feel for themselves what's working and what isn't. And as far as doses per day, that should be left up to the patient. And even in times when you have these drugs that are prescribed, that's left up to the patient as well. It'll say take 2 to 3 every 4 to 6 hours. I mean, there's a lot of leeway in there, and that is left for the patient to determine. So this is something we do all the time. It's just that it doesn't have the corporate backing. I think that that's the big difference. We don't need it. However, doctors seem to rely on it in order to make that determination. So, and I think it's backed up by this survey. You've got the majority of doctors out there saying, hey, yeah, we feel that it would be effective, but no, I wouldn't make the prescription for it because I don't know anything about it.
Maybe they're actually saying, I don't want to have to deal with the government coming after me for actually telling you to do this. Because basically, that's probably was a big rate limiting factor. They don't want to run foul of the federal, the Food and Drug Administration.
Well, and this is in Canada. I mean, they have Health Canada, the program up there that has medical marijuana. The doctors could simply write them into the government's medical marijuana program. So they're not really taking any risk up there in Canada like they might be down here in the U.S. They've got 30,000 patients across the country that are already registered. So it's not anything that is brand new by any means. It's been around since 2001. I think the difference is that you don't have those cannabis companies going back out to the doctors with their pharmaceutical reps saying, well, this is what this is for, and this is how much to prescribe. In time, give them time, that'll probably happen. And I think that once you see something that is approved on the U.S. side through the FDA, then you'll see it go back out. But doctors in Canada can already prescribe Sativex and cannabidiol, or not cannabidiol, but Epidiolex. So there's 2 prescription drugs they could put out there. They just don't have the info yet.
Dad always said what the prescription would say if you actually deciphered it, it was being sent to the pharmacist. The doctor was saying, "I got mine, now you get yours."
Yeah.
So
Right. Well, I didn't get my free sample yet, so you're not going to get your free sample. All right, there's some other info here I just wanted to share with you quickly. It's called Marijuana and Anxiety, a Self-Help Role. Many people who use marijuana say it helps relieve anxiety, and on the other hand, there are just as many people who report feeling more anxious after using it. Although the exact details remain a mystery, a possible explanation may lie in the specific chemical makeup of cannabis. As most marijuana users are aware, not all cannabis is the same. There's a wide range of strains or cannabis available, and many are believed to have unique effects on their user. What makes different strains unique from one another is their active chemical ingredients, also known as cannabinoids. Although clinical research is lacking, knowing the difference between strains and how they affect anxiety can be helpful. So the 2 most common cannabinoids are THC and CBD. I think most people out there, at least our club members, are well aware of that. THC is responsible for the high and also is strongly linked to feelings of paranoia, especially when taken in high doses. It means that this is because THC activates an area of the brain responsible for fear. And John, I might need your help on this. Amygdala?
amygdala.
Amygdala. All right. It's part of your brain. Yeah. It's the part that's responsible for the fear. It activates this area. THC activates that. However, CBD, on the other hand, is believed to counteract the mind-altering effects of the THC. And what's more is that studies are now shown that when taken on its own, CBD can lower anxiety in both healthy and anxiety-prone individuals. So, it's kind of interesting there. Types of cannabis. The reason why marijuana is often associated with anxiety may be because most varieties of cannabis are specifically bred to be rich in THC. The way CBD and THC are produced within the plant causes strains with high THC to have less CBD and vice versa. So if you've got a plant that's going to be high in THC, it's also bred to have low CBDs. High CBD strains have only recently become popular among cannabis consumers, due in part to the growing awareness of the compound's medicinal effects. As a result, there's a strong chance that any marijuana you obtain will have more THC than CBD. And that's probably because in the past people were trying to breed for the THC. Other components in cannabis may contribute to the effect on anxiety besides THC and CBD. Cannabis contains over 60 different cannabinoids, and those are just two of them. So, certain terpenes, these are the things that emit the smells in cannabis, have also found to possess anti-anxiety properties. Still, most of the chemicals only present trace amounts, and little is known about their overall impact on marijuana users. I think there was a recent article that just came out from Steep Hill Laboratories. These are the guys that do the testing out in Harborside, which is Oakland, California. And they were linking some of the terpenes to some of these anxiety-causing effects. And one of the things they were also linking them to was whether or not a plant was indica or sativa. So, and in fact, I think their article is trying to say that this is the determining factor of what makes a plant an indica or a sativa, is the different types of terpenes that are present in that plant. So this is kind of cool. This is one of the things that we've been looking at. With testing, we've been able to, for a while now, tell whether or not we've got THC present, obviously CBD, CBNs, and we're seeing that now with our own lab right there at the G3C. And we're starting to see the different levels and compounds, and we're also seeing some of these strains that we're talking about that have a higher amount of CBD than they do THC, and we've seen some strains that have equal amounts as well. So kind of a variety that is starting to get back now into the mix, whereas in the past, at least in our experience, the majority of the strains that were out there were THC dominant type strains. Now we're starting to see a little bit of a mix creep back in. So this is kind of cool. But one of the things I've always been fascinated by is that while you have all these different ranges of THC and CBD, and one plant might have a low amount of THC, another plant might have a higher amount, there was still nothing in those results to indicate to us what makes it an indica, something that's more relaxing, and what makes it a sativa, something that's more cerebral or uplifting. And the THC, CBD percentages just weren't telling us that information. The terpenes that are present that we can now test for, and I think we're going to be doing that testing as well at the club, those actually are the indicating factors as to what is going to make that cannabis strain an indica, a sativa, or in some cases a hybrid where it's a mix. So this is kind of cool. We've been able to determine that, and I think that we're going to need to see more information. Hopefully we'll be able to collect some of that info ourselves right there at the club, and start to link, like, okay, well, if this strain here is high in, let's say, mycene, which I think is one of the terpenes, then that there is going to be a more of an indica plant. But we don't go around sniffing jars at the club saying, well, this one smells like mycene, However, we might associate that with something that is citrus, or lemony. And I think that that's something that we can start to get into our vocabulary as caregivers and as patients, and start to figure out, like, okay, well, yeah, this type of strain that smells like oranges is going to possess this type of terpene, which is going to make it this type of cannabis as we associate it with it, either indica, sativa, or some type of hybrid, which would be a mix of the two.
It sounds like it's connected to like aromatherapy, and because
Indeed, I think it is.
Certain types of smells or scents seem to be more relaxing. Like I guess lavender is supposed to help you improve memory.
Yeah.
Recall. So I mean, I was just looking up on Leafly up on the internet there, and the terpenes, the flavors of cannabis aromatherapy, and that's how they have it titled, this article in there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, and I guess some certain types of smells would make some people maybe perhaps feeling more anxious, and others would probably have a tendency. I mean, just in the aromatherapy realm.
Sure.
So I mean, that fleshes out to make sense to me.
Well, if you had some a type of aromatherapy, some type of terpene that would sort of activate your senses, make you sort of almost like a cup of coffee sort of thing, where it wakes you up in a sense, and then you also have it combined with, let's say, a high THC possessing plant. Those two things in combination could be one of the reasons why people would experience the anxiety that they're associating it with. However, maybe you could have the same result and with a high THC plant, but it has a different type of terpene, and so now it's more of a relaxing type of cannabis. So this is pretty cool. I mean, I think it's I always thought that terpenes were going to be one of the most important things that we look at. Obviously, we want to know what the medicinal amount is present in our medicine, in a sense. So if we're using a concentrate and it's extremely high, 90% cannabinoids, or if we're using bud and then now we've got a range to look at, maybe there's some around 10%, maybe there's some around 20%, and there's choices there. But we also maybe want to take more of a note as to what type of terpenes are present. And I know that a lot of people out there that use cannabis will tell you that they prefer the flower form of the cannabis in preference to anything else, whether it be an edible, concentrate, any other type of way of ingesting. They prefer the flower form, the smoking of it, and that might be because of the terpenes there, and they're getting the medicinal effects from that being present as well. And obviously, if you take cannabis, grind it up, and bake it, you're going to lose those terpenes. They're going to be cooked out of it. And there may be still some present there, but they're certainly not going to be the same as what was prior to it being heated. And as well, you're not inhaling it into your lungs. So I think, we talk about aromatherapy. That's something where you naturally inhale it. And I'm trying to sort of advocate for this without really advocate for smoking. I mean, you can vaporize these and still get the same terpenes out of it as you can smoking. But at any rate, there's some people out there that tell you, look, the way that I prefer my medication is in flower form. And I think that that's a testament to the terpenes that are present there, not just the cannabinoids. I mean, if they were just trying to get the cannabinoids, then they could ingest, by eating concentrate and have a much higher amount of cannabinoids in their bloodstream than smoking it. But that's not always what people are looking for. And I think the terpenes in there play the big role. And that's why I think that you're always going to have the flower form of cannabis be one of the ways that people are going to seek out this as a medicine, not just for the cannabinoids that are there, but also for the terpenes. And a lot of times in the other forms that we're seeing it in, like for instance, if you did purchase Sativex in Canada, you're getting that as just a compound of THC and CBD. It's in a spray form, and it's been synthesized and broken down, and who knows what else, because it's coming through a pharmaceutical company, and you're spraying it into your mouth. But are you going to get the terpene effects? Well, no, you're not. Those are going to be stripped away. They're going to be gone. And so the same effect, the entourage effect, if you will, of cannabis, and I know there's some people have been out there talking about this, it's a factor, and it's not going to be experienced if you're using some other type of form of ingestion. So there's always going to be a market out there, I think, always going to be a need when it comes to the flower form. People are always going to be desiring that. I mean, that is what possesses the most amount of the terpenes present along with the cannabinoids. And I think that ingestion experience that comes from that is always going to be one of the key factors in the medicinal effects for people out there.
I think, the thing is, maybe this is seems like intangible, but I mean, I like simply having a cup of coffee in the morning. If I would take the caffeine pills, I don't think I'd get the full benefit if I was actually drinking a cup of coffee. Now, they could probably encapsulate that, in that capsule, twice the amount that I would normally get in one cup of coffee,
Sure.
Slowly brewed. But the smell of that, and that can't be dismissed in treatment. That, that what we consider intangible can't be dismissed totally, because that itself might have a medicinal impact. So who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that I think that people that have been around the club would resonate with this, and most people agree with this, is that the flowered form, or the actual plant in its whole embodiment, its complete form, is always going to be something that is going to be desired for. So whether or not you can break it down, synthesize it, whatever you want to do, certainly there's other ways to get more of it into your bloodstream. We're not arguing that. It's the entourage effect of the cannabis that has its own uniqueness to it, and I think that's something that is always going to be sought after. So, and even if you have, let's say if we fast forward 100 years into the future, and you can walk in and buy a pack of whatever type of cannabis, there's always going to be people out there that are going to be doing it at home in the back garden, and you're going to have micro brewers, if you will, because of all the different types of combinations of these terpenes and cannabinoids that are present. And it's something that there's such a rainbow of availability there that just can't be dialed down to a few choices. It's something that's going to be out there, kind of like wine, if you will.
Yeah, as I was going to say, if they want to just isolate chemical compounds, and they're going right back to the problem that Western medicine's having right now, an overemphasis on one chemical. And it's a detriment actually because maybe the other ones act as a buffer for the more negative aspects
Yeah,
of if you just kept one isolated.
absolutely.
So, I think you're basically screwing with them, working in combination, so why screw with it?
Right. We agree, John. We're on the same page there. For sure. All right. That's most of the news that I have for you this week. Not too much else going on. Just want to remind you guys again about the soup kitchen that's coming up here first Friday in September. And also remind you guys to have a fantastic week. It's beautiful out there. Summer's not going to be around here much longer. We only got a couple weeks left. So get out there and enjoy it while you can. And this is Jeremy from the Genesee County Compassion Club Show. John, thanks for being here in the studio with me this week. And you guys have a good one. Thanks a lot.